Hello everyone and welcome back to Countering Mewtwo Terra Raids. Mewtwo's dropping later today. Let's go over the best counters for Mewtwo and why they are the best. The Terra types on everything is not exactly the best one it should be, pretty much. We'll actually be saying what the best Terra types for everything is. And because there's actually so many Pokemon that are actually viable for these Mewtwo raids, we'll be covering these sort of archetypes. So, the physical attackers, the special attackers of a certain typing, the other special attackers of a certain typing, and we're doing the same thing for supports. The reason why, going through this list, there's maybe like 20-25 different Pokemon that are all fantastic for these raids. And even more that are just like janky fun nonsense that are also great. So we'll get right into the first one, and with our physical attackers, physical dark attackers. You're going to want to be going with dark attackers over the other attacking types, because simply they recommended to use Dark and Bug, and that makes me think this thing is not going to be attacking Aura Sphere. So we'll be running under that assumption. However, there are some Pokemon that actually skirt around this, even if Aura Sphere is in play. There are ways around that, which we will be covering. But if you guys haven't done so already, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. Comment below what your favorite counter options are going to be and what you're going to be using in these raids. But yes, you're going to want to go for dark types. The reason for this is Mewtwo with Terra Psychic, a super effective non-stab Aura Sphere or Shadow Ball, is actually weaker than a neutral Psychic, or even worse, a neutral Psystrike. Psystrike and Psychic both have a significantly higher base power. There's a 90 base power and a 100 base power for them respectively, because when a Pokemon is terrestrialized into its own typing, it doubles that move's power rather than boosting it by 50%. The 90 base power Psychic functionally becomes a 180 base power move, and Psystrike becomes a functional 200 power move, whereas Shadow Ball or Aura Sphere, even when super effective, is only 160. That is a very significant difference. The other reason why you do not want to be using a Pokemon that is Ghost type, or Psychic type if it does have Shadow Ball, is it is always better to be weak to a move that will never miss than it is to be weak to a move that has a chance of debuffing your special defense. Because you're just going to be throwing out, 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 or more Shadow Ball. With a 10% chance of dropping your special defense, the likelihood of that happening is not terrible. You know, it isn't just, 1 in every 10 is going to drop it. No, when it accumulates like that, the odds actually do work out weirdly. But there's a very significant chance you're going to get yourself debuffed that way. And that means Mewtwo's actually got a better chance of handling you that way, so it's better to go with the Dark type, because you're not going to get bodied that way. There's a less risky play, is I guess the best way of saying it. You can still use Ghost types, however, there's also not a whole lot of tanky Ghost types. And again, you're actually still taking more damage from Psystrike and Psychic than you are from Shadow Ball, unless you are Spirit Tomb. But enough of that, enough waffle, let's get to Roaring Moon. Roaring Moon, again, stats are not exactly what they should be for everything perfectly, but you're going to want Roaring Moon, which is our first archetype of these, is these physical dark types, which is going to be Crunch, Night Slash, Jaw Lock, any of those good physical dark moves, max attack, max speed, so you can outrun Mewtwo, because Mewtwo is absurdly fast, and good attacking stat. Instead of the Salt Vest, which the Salt Vest is a fairly good move, is a fairly good item to have here, but that would be good if Pokemon had Leech Life, but without healing. However, you're going to want to go with the Shell Belt for just constant restoring. All the attackers are going to want the Shell Belt. So Roaring Moon, good physical dark type. Again, if it has Aura Sphere, it is going to be weak to Aura Sphere. However, you're going to want also Terra Dark, so that way you are immune to the Psychic Psystrike and resist to the Shadow Ball. Again, weak to Aura Sphere, but we've been over why, not as bad. And now we are into the next physical archetype, which is actually the Bug physical attackers. And this is both Kleavor and Scizor, because they actually have very much the same setups, and that is X-Scissor, Swords Dance. If you want offense, Kleavor is better because of the ability Sharpness, and you're going to want an Adamant Nature 252 in physical attack, not this. Yeah, been able to change everything because that is a lot of mints. And, again, for all these Pokemon, because, again, about 20-30 Pokemon are active viable for this. And Sharpness boosts the power of slicing moves by 50%. That means the very dangerous X-Scissor is now functionally 120 base power before same type attack bonus. With same type attack bonus and with super effective damage, that is a 360 base power move that you are able to boost with Swords Dance. Kind of crazy for damage. On the other hand, you have Scizor, who is a little bit weaker because, again, it doesn't have sharpness, but what it does have is a better defensive typing. Cleavor is not weak to Psychic, but it is neutrally damaged by Psychic, meaning it's going to be eating those very strong Psychic moves. Scizor is Steel Bug, so it is not weak, it is not neutral. I keep interchanging weak with neutral because in this case, you're taking more damage from a neutral hit than a super effective hit, so I may mix it up from time to time. But you're taking resisted damage from Psychic, meaning Mewtwo is going to either have Shadow Ball or Aura Sphere. I don't believe Mewtwo is going to have Flamethrower. Again, the reason for this is they specifically recommended Bug. And they really haven't recommended good Pokemon in the past, but they've been recommending very good Pokemon for these Mewtwo raids, which worries me. And that if they do have Mewtwo with these moves, really things aren't going to do well anyway. So you gotta have to make the best of a bad situation no matter what. So if it does have Flamethrower or Aura Sphere, you gotta be able to deal with them anyway. So we might as well go over that. We have ways of actually mitigating the damage from those, which will be in our support section. But yes, Cleavor. Best attacker in terms of pure damage with the Cleavor, whereas Scizor is more of a bulky attacker, does a little bit less damage than Cleavor, but it can take hits significantly better. Now, the special Dark offense. And this is Hydreigon. You can substitute in Iron Jugulus in place of Hydreigon if you are worried about Aura Sphere, as Iron Jugulus is flying and dark, meaning that it won't be weak to Aura Sphere. It does not get Nasty Plot, instead it gets Work Up, but again, if you're worried about that, it is a bit of a safer call. The other thing here is actually Spirit Tomb, as Spirit Tomb does get Nasty Plot. It is Dark Ghost, so it is not weak to Aura Sphere, but it is not very fast and it does not have very good offensive stats, so it does need a little bit more dedicated setup to really get going, whereas Hydreigon can get straight into the offense. Again, for these ones, you're going to want maximum special attack, so Modest Nature, 252 special attacking EVs, 252 speed EVs, and again, fairly simple setup of Nasty Plot and Dark Pulse. You can tack on Snarl to these Pokemon if they are capable of learning it for the reason of a debuffing special attack. However, that is more of a support-oriented thing. These are your big damage dealers. Chi-Yu was also in here initially, but then I remembered, oh yeah, that kind of kills your own special defense. You don't want that. Chi-Yu is one of the few Pokemon to not bring, despite having all the hallmarks of a fantastic Pokemon for the setup. Again, the reason for that, it slashes the special defense of your own allies, meaning you're taking more damage from Mewtwo, which is a bad thing. Now we get into special Bug, Volcarona. There's another Pokemon that does somewhat also fit in here, and that's Frostmoth. However, Frostmoth is not as effective here, as it does have a lower overall base stat total, and it is, well, slow. It can be used to a good effect. However, Volcarona is the supreme example of this. Main reason of that, Quiver Dance, Bug Buzz, really don't need much more than that. It can set up, boost its own speed, boost its own special defense, boost its special attack, and then just spam out some pretty powerful Bug Buzz. It also gets access to Struggle Bug, which will always debuff Mewtwo's special attack, allowing you to keep up momentum of debuffing its special attack while you're building up your Terrastallize gauge. This, again, you're going to want Dark, but you can also go for Bug in this case, again, because you're boosting your special defense. That does offset things. So, Terra Bug is actually not a bad call on this one. But there's also one of the advantages that Frostmoth actually gets, is Ice Scales as an ability makes it take half damage when getting hit by a special attack. The issue with this, it does not apply to Psystrike. Psystrike targets its physical defense, not its special defense. So it kind of skirts around the whole thing. Our final attacker that leans a bit into support, and that is Arceus. What you're going to want for this one is Acid Spray, Dark Pulse, or Shadow Ball. The reason for this is Judgment is not too great of a move here, even if you can change Arceus into a Dark type via the plates. You're sacrificing the Shell Bell, which again, you really need that Shell Bell here. You can opt for the Dark Plate and have Recover as your healing method. However, a little bit more clunky to use, and it might just be better just to go with the Shell Bell. Or an ally that is actually healing, as we'll get into with many later supports. But yeah, fairly straightforward. Again, Modest Nature, max speed, max special attack, Acid Spray, your specially offensive move of choice of Shadow Ball or Dark Pulse, and Dark Terror type, so really prefer Dark Pulse. Now, full-on dedicated support. Grimmsnarl. Best type of this entire thing, and yes, I know, the Terror type is not changed over to what it should be. Main issue with that is, again, so many Pokemon. Moves for Grimmsnarl, these are not the exact moves you're going to want for it. Instead, you're going to want Light Screen over Reflect. With Fake Tears, Spirit Break, utterly fantastic. You're going to want, for all of these options, Max HP, Max Special Defense. With a Calm Nature. On everything other than Grimmsnarl, Grimmsnarl is Impish, because you're actually using your physical attack, not your special attack here. So Grimmsnarl is the one exception. But everything is going to be max HP, max special defense. And again, Spirit Break, fantastic move, debuff special attack. Fake Tears, debuff special defense, letting the attackers do their work. Grimmsnarl's best goal here is that it doesn't have a weakness to anything Mewtwo can throw at it. Unless Mewtwo is packing Iron Tail. And that is a very weak move coming from it. Now we get into the trifecta of Dark Poisons, as I like to call them. Overquill is definitively the worst of this three, but these are still three of the absolute best answers to Mewtwo in terms of a support option. And they are, the supreme one is Alolan Muck, then a step below that is Skuntank, and then at the bottom is Overquill. The reason why Alolan Muck specifically and Skuntank are number 1 and 2 is they get the three fantastic moves: Snarl, Acid Spray, Dark Pulse. Overquill does not get Snarl. It gets Acid Spray and Dark Pulse. However, that really does dock it for a bit because Snarl's pretty an essential move for this because, again, Mewtwo is very specially aggressive. The reason why specifically Alolan Muck is, again, Psychic is in play. It is the most dangerous thing it's got. Resisting or immunity to Psychic is paramount here. But yes, Acid Spray, Dark Pulse, best way of handling it. Again, these are not meant to be damage dealers, they're meant to just be support and attack. Hisuian Goodra sort of falls in this other support category. Again, fantastically bulky, absurd special defense, pretty solid HP, and it also does get Acid Spray. Its issue is it doesn't really have anything that's super effective against Mewtwo, but again, it is support. It's there to debuff, not really do attacking power. And of course, with its Steel typing and its massive bulk, Mewtwo can't really do much to it unless it does have Aura Sphere, which don't think Aura Sphere is as likely as it is. Again, it could have Aura Sphere, and I definitely see it can have Aura Sphere, but if they give it Aura Sphere, it's going to be a lot harder to handle, and people are not big fans of Terra raids. So screwing up on Mewtwo raids would be a big blunder on their part. But yeah, Hisuian Goodra is basically exclusively there for Acid Spray support. Now you get into your unorthodox supports, and that's Cresselia. Main reason for this: Lunar Blessing. One of the best moves in existence. Heals half of all allies' HP. It's just a better version of Life Dew. And Moonblast. Moonblast has a 30% chance of dropping the special attack of, well, whatever's hit by it. So it can kind of do a bit of both, you know, healing and a little bit of debuffing. And this is also kind of where Blissey comes in. Blissey. As Blissey does get Life Dew, but that's kind of it. Can potentially set up Light Screen, but again, basically just Life Dew. Also, all of these are going to want the Leftovers held item. Now we have Umbreon. Pretty much your best all-around support, as it gets access to three very, very good moves: Fake Tears, Screech, and Snarl. This is, bar none, the best debuffer of all of them in terms of pure moves, as it can be used on physical or special offensive sets. Again, special offense is generally your best option here. But there are some good physical attackers. Mostly it's Roaring Moon and potentially Urshifu Dark. However, that remains to be seen about the physical attacking side. Special attacking side, Umbreon is fantastic for it. It's also absurd special defense, lets it pretty much just tank hits left and right. And if most people aren't going with special attackers, well, most people aren't going with physical attackers, not special attackers, you can tack on Helping Hand in place of Screech. In addition to all of these, there's also Corviknight. Again, it does have that fantastic metal sound, but Corviknight is less effective here as Mewtwo doesn't really have a whole lot of debuffing moves. And as I mentioned before, Spirit Tomb is a very viable play here. The main reason for Spirit Tomb being a very viable play comes in it does have that fantastic type combination, so it is not weak to Ghost, it is not weak to Fighting, it is immune to Fighting, and it is immune to Psychic. But its issue is it's slow, it doesn't have a very high offensive stat, and that's also why Giratina is not a fantastic play here. That's a Calc Giratina, and it's taking a lot of damage from Shadow Ball, and it's not really dealing out a lot of damage in return. Because you can't go with Origin form, which is the offensive form, because you need the Shell Bell on it. Unless allies are continuously healing you, but even then you're taking more damage from Shadow Ball then. But yeah, there's a pretty significant number of viable options when it comes to these raids. And we've also done an entire video already on Mew specifically, but I will see you guys next time. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more, comment below what your guys are thinking on using. See you later tonight, when we start raiding Mewtwo ourselves. Look forward to seeing you there.